something I'm very excited about is a show I've been producing for about a year called It's That Time of the Month. That is a femme-leaning variety comedy show. That's going to be happening Friday, September 23rd at 9 p.m. at the Newport Theater in Wrigleyville.
Welcome back to Sugar Beats. We got a special guest today. She's awesome. Her name is Emily. She is a dancer. She is a professional comedian. She's got all sorts of bio stuff you could put on the list, but today she's just a regular friend. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, Bob. It's good to be here.
Glad.
So what are we talking about?
Well, I think what I'd like to do is you've been trying to investigate and actually initiate a new club, a comedy club.
Yeah.
How's that going?
It's a very slow, arduous process. As you know, because I've shown you, I worked on a business plan quite a while ago, maybe in May. Started working on it in May, and it's now mid-September. So that took a while. Did a lot of research, a lot of market research, a lot of research on how to do a business plan. Asked my friend in business school, should I go to business school for this? And he was like, no. He's like, let me just give you this template. You don't. He's like, you're smart. You don't need to pay the money for it. And I was like, okay. So I took his word for it.
Yeah.
And then I thought it was just going to be as simple as, we've got the talent. I have all of these amazingly talented friends who are always happy to do some good work in improv or stand-up or, party entertainment.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, great. Now I just need to raise some money and get a brick and mortar. And so where I'm at right now is I have found a location that I love, but I am running up against potentially not being approved for the permitted use of that particular building and even in that area. So, and I've learned recently that there are a lot of areas in Chicago that would typically be, you would think they would be zoned for a comedy club, but they don't want them there. So whereas I saw this 10-mile radius of a comedy desert,
right,
that was oh great, it's a need that needs to be filled. Now it's turning into, oh well, maybe it's a comedy desert for a reason, by design.
Well, so you're saying that so zoning is an issue that you didn't think would necessarily be a problem. Is it zoning because there's alcohol in it and they consider it more like a bar or a potential issue that you want to make sure that that's covered, or is it because they just aren't very funny people?
Well, I mean, they don't seem very funny, first of all, if I had to guess. What's interesting about this particular venue is that it was already a bar for 30 years before this.
Oh.
But the last bar in operation there got shut down, got its liquor license revoked because of, noise complaints, maybe a little bit of bias from the people that live in the area and don't like a certain kind of clientele. Who knows?
Okay.
But I guess their problems are now my problems.
So it was like a small person bar, like a midget bar, but they didn't like the small people there, so they wanted to get rid of them.
Kind of.
Okay.
It was a different marginalized group, but
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Very good. So, the reason I ask is I've started a lot of businesses myself, and each one has a very unique flaw or problem that has to be overcome. But once it's overcome, it usually because you put so much energy into it and so much lifeblood, it seems to really flow well. So you were thinking Forest Park, I believe, right?
Yes, I was thinking Forest Park.
Or River Forest? I couldn't remember.
Forest Park,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
There's a really great strip on Madison Street. It's it's very vibrant, lots of walking traffic on the weekends and stuff. It's a good mix of retail, taverns, and restaurants on the first floors, and then second floor is maybe office spaces or living spaces.
Okay.
So it's a great, very vibrant area. And I think, speaking to you saying that they always have one problem, some of these businesses have one problem. I think in my gut, nobody has said this explicitly, in my gut, I think one of the things I'm coming up against is that when you say comedy club, which I have to call it a comedy club
Right.
because it needs to be, Yelpable.
Right.
Maybe people have a different idea in their mind of what that means. There's
Right.
a sliding scale of what that can mean. It can mean a, hole in the wall where people come in and get drunk and tell one-liners and get into fights. Or it could be...
That's not every comedy club?
It doesn't have to be, especially if a woman owns the club. I know there are people that own comedy clubs who the actual staff are the people starting the bar fights. So that will not be me. And yeah, so I think, there's that sliding scale. So that's one end of the spectrum.
Right.
And then another end of the spectrum is something more like Second City, where it's a well-respected establishment where people are trying to create a space for people to learn and grow and get performance reps, and also to walk in the doors and see like a highly professional comedy show. So that's what I'm trying to do. I think comedy is very democratic. I think it can be very unifying.
Yes.
And I think it might actually even help heal some of those divides
Sure.
that led potentially to that previous bar being shut down.
Okay.
So,
Well, you know what? I love comedy. It's a passion for me. It's part of it's the freedom, the free speech aspect. You get to poke your finger at something that no one else would poke at.
Yeah.
Only because there's the freedom of art, and there's that freedom to say it's very important for us to not quench everything, because I see in our culture we do quench certain things for whatever reason. There like YouTube bans things, other things going on, and I think that just destroys. It brings down the whole level of the society somewhat, because now we self-regulate to a point where we're not being creative. And I like creativity. I'd much rather hear someone that's ridiculously off the wall with whatever view they got than to have that person still be ridiculously off the wall, but I don't know what they're thinking about.
right.
I would much rather have it, because it's open, we can discuss, we can talk, we can, approach things, and then it's the value of ideas. And diversity doesn't just happen with skin color or anything else. It happens with ideas.
Right.
And with cultures. So that's one reason why I love comedy. I've seen every, from massively conservative to massively leftist to massively everything else, and I really enjoy everyone's perspective.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that that I'm the most interested in owning a comedy club, and also when I produce comedy, and especially when I'm educating in any form. I teach ballet, but I teach improv and all that stuff too. When we need to be careful about trying to tell people, okay, these are the things that you absolutely cannot joke about. These are the things that right now are off the table.
Right.
I think instead, like you said, there's far left comedy, far right comedy. There's going to be a comedian who's speaking directly to the soul of somebody everywhere.
Right.
And maybe they're not going to be a broadly popular comedian that's never offended anybody, but I think what we need to focus on, instead of saying, okay, these are the things you can't joke about, is to say, all right, this seems to be your humor. This is your point of view. Now, where are you coming from with this? What are you trying to say? What's your goal here?
Yeah.
Do you want to turn the room against you? Because some people like that. and so if you're trying to do like an Anthony Jeselnik kind of a thing, and just make people be like, oh God, that's dark, then
Bill Burr does a little bit of that too, where he starts
Right.
with a premise that's like,
right,
really?
right.
And then he sucks you into a point where you're almost agreeing with him at the end. It's like, wow.
Yeah,
how'd that
and
happen?
that's very artfully done, and you can only get to the point of being masterful at what you do if you're allowed to practice what you do and refine what you do. So I worry that if we try too much to paint with a broad brush on what's not touchable, then we're devaluing some people who might have some really good things to say. But that being said, it's a steep hill to climb for some people, and you got to find a way to make your humor funny, and people have to be able to hear it. They can't, turn off to you immediately. So that takes time. It takes a while to get.
The key is to be funny.
Right. Well, right, exactly. And I also think, maybe this is kind of like woo-woo with me. I also think if you're coming from a place of like understanding and love, even if you're saying something like that you can't stand, but if you can't stand it because it's something that goes against something that you love so much, that's one end that is maybe more valuable and has more meat on its bones than just to be like, let me tell you what I freaking hate. Can I cuss on this podcast?
Well,
oh, free speech.
we don't have to.
Maybe a little.
I never say don't swear, but my grandkids might be watching it someday.
Oh, fair.
So
Okay. Hi, grandkids.
it's not that you can't.
Yeah.
They might be watching it someday, and if
That's
they do,
fair.
then
And they'll know that cursing makes you
well,
a certain type of person.
I think everyone
right?
swears a little bit, and some people swear a lot. And I
Yeah.
don't want to say you can't. But
Yeah.
Usually, if my grandkids are going to be around, I try to
Yeah.
make sure it's and we can express ourselves without it usually.
I agree. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
sometimes a swear word is exactly what needs to be said.
Yeah.
It's the punctuation point to the end of the sentence.
It's definitely not necessary, but I like it. And I've also read that people who curse a lot, which this guy, apparently are statistically more honest. I kind of imagine swearing kind of like burping the lid of like a rice cooker, like a pressure cooker, right?
Okay.
So I know people who always are very careful and very appropriate with how they speak.
Sure.
And I sometimes I'm like, what's going on in there? What are you holding back?
Well, there was a time, I'm glad you bring this up, actually. This is fun. There was a time in my life when I swore every other word.
Yeah.
I'm from a rougher part, where, I was in a couple hundred fights. It's just what we were doing. I mean, you were aggressive all the time. We're like my cop buddies or military guys.
Yeah.
They swear all the time
Right.
because there's an aggressive, we're ready to punch someone in the face at any moment approach to life.
And you kind of
I
want to
understand
maintain that.
Well, do I?
Well, I'm saying I think one would benefit from maintaining a little bit of aggression all the time if you need to be constantly ready to be at war or be
Right.
ready to
Right.
have hand-to-hand combat with somebody.
Exactly. But then I came to the awareness that it's not really right to be swearing all the time. It is offensive to quite a few people. And then number two, it doesn't show well for me. I have vocabulary.
Right.
I know a couple thousand words. I can use whatever words to describe what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And emotions to express those without getting into the swear language, which would be offensive to some people. So
Right.
I find people that only swear occasionally are much more, it like bites.
Yeah.
If you don't swear normal and then you're using a swear word, it's like, wait a second, what happened? Like
Right.
someone that smiles all the time and now they have a scowl on their face. Something's majorly wrong, So I found that I want to present myself to people in a normal way. There's no reason to offend people unnecessarily.
Right.
And so I find that swearing, and I always told my children, it doesn't become you. Older people, if you're young and you're swearing, older people are going to look like you're a punk, like you're not
Yeah.
worthy or valuable of their time. Like, okay, get away from me.
Yeah.
Rather than, hey, this kid's clean. He's going to be doing what he can. He's working hard. I'm going to push this guy forward. Instead they just ignore or try and hold you back because they don't like you.
Well, and
It's like
also
someone with
just-
a bad odor. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah.
It's not
I was
that you
actually.
don't like the person, but the odor is like, come on, I can't
Yeah,
do that.
I'm glad you brought that up, Bob, because I had something I wanted to tell you. I also think, there have been times where I've been in a situation where I can't curse. And when I'm teaching ballet, obviously, not only do I not curse, I tried to not even be overly funny because I've got so many other things to focus on. And it's hard to keep this sort of like disciplined environment that's also, encouraging and positive and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I also have to do the extra labor of making it seem like I like kids. But there's
That's
something
good.
valuable about if you don't call somebody let's say, instead of calling them like a jackass, if you call them like a dolt, I don't know, it's so funny.
Right,
It's funnier
right.
to me. Use an old word people don't use anymore.
Exactly.
Like, what a dolt. That's it hits harder to me.
Yeah.
It perks up the ears. So I like the challenge. I agree. I love words. I love using all the corners of my vocabulary, and it's fun to find those like perfect little nuggets that are like
Yes.
exactly what you need to describe something.
And my grandmother used to swear more than anybody, but her words were always like, bless you. She would say something, and the vehement behind it was undeniable.
Yeah.
But the actual word, never a swear word.
Right.
It was always like, I'm going to get hit next. I know what's happening. I got to get away or something. 'Cause
Yeah,
when she said, bless you, it wasn't like the priest with the water. It was not that.
Wow.
It was like, here we go.
That's
We're
a
about to
skill.
be in trouble.
That's a skill. Wow. Colin's shadowboxing over there.
Oh, yeah, by the way, we've got Colin up on the boards today.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Colin.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How y'all doing?
Good. Colin is one of the most helpful people.
Oh, thank
Just
you.
like generally super helpful. He was very helpful when I was setting up my brunch.
My gut tells me, and it's all luck of the draw, so of course, sometimes, but he works hard. He's got a personality that's awesome. I could see him in a few years being actually very popular in the entertainment industry.
I do too.
I really can
yeah,
see that.
I can too. Absolutely. I hope that that is the case.
I hope so too.
I think that that's actually another thing that is sort of a tenet of my idea in my comedy club, is that I came from the classical ballet world as a professional ballerina for 10 years, and then I went into musical theater, and in both of those realms I was like a union worker, and so I was in the American Guild for Musical Artists, and then I'm currently in Actors Equity. And in all of those instances, I mean, you are by the minute you're down to a clock. If you're not signed in at half an hour before the show, you get fined, or
Right.
you get written up, and you can only get written up a certain amount of times. And not only that, but then there's the built-in structure of when you're doing a performance in those genres, your timing has to be impeccable, because you
Exactly.
can't be late to enter on stage for a big lift or something,
Right.
leave your partner hanging. So I find that I think that there's been a lot of apologizing for comedians always being late, never answering their phones or their email, being unable to, reach them. And like I said, I think we've just kind of like, that culture has existed for such a long time, and people are like, oh, well, this is just how it is. I mean, even when you do a comedy showcase, oftentimes the host of the showcase doesn't prepare the running order until they see every single person in the room. And that's because we never know if people are all going to show up.
Right.
So that's something that, from my point of view, is not necessary. We're all adults here.
Right.
And I would like to be able to foster an environment where people are not only working on their comedy, they're working on their professionalism.
Of course.
Because all of the comedians that we look up to, that most of us look up to, that we see have some kind of modicum of success, are people that, Kristen Wiig isn't probably showing up to a pitch meeting an hour late.
Right.
I don't think that Kevin Hart is flaking on an interview and just not showing up and not answering his phone, and then calling back, 24 hours later being like, man, I overslept, man, I'm so sorry. So I would love to.
I love that voice. By the way. That is so good.
Everybody
Wow.
says that. A couple of my friends are like, you've got to write a sketch about it's the actually guy.
Oh,
Like, actually, I think that it's actually much harder for men right now. That's my favorite alter ego. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll get off my soapbox, but I would love to create a space where people can be just as free to speak freely, to work on their art form, and to be supported in that, get some mentorship in that, but also maybe be held a little bit accountable and be like, look, this is, if you want to be successful, you want to move on to the next step outside of Chicago open mics and showcases,
right.
then let's talk about answering your phone.
Exactly.
So
all you little leaguers out there, I always use that term.
Little
All
leaguers.
you little leaguers out there that might want to start a business, if you've worked for anybody or you've done the job before but you haven't owned a business, I'll explain this really simply. A businessman usually has put his life on the line, most of his money on the line, a whole lot of blood, sweat, and tears and time, and he set up all the stuff to make money, and then if people are disrespecting the actual opening time where people
Yes.
spend money, it sabotages that individual, and it harms them
yeah, it hurts your
irreparably, and it could hurt not just that night, but it could hurt the reputation of what they're doing
Exactly.
to a point where now they can't be successful. So when you're out there, little leaguers, all you guys that work for other people, which I've done tons of times, I'm telling you right now, show up on time, show respect to the people that you're working with or have hired you, because you know what? They will respect you when you do that, because they truly go through what she spoke about all the time,
Yeah.
where are they? What happened? Or they show up and they're not ready.
Yeah.
Or they're hungover, or there's 1,000 excuses, but the person that's actually put the energy into the club or into whatever the endeavor is has a lot riding on this. It's not like it was fairy dust money that showed up
Yeah.
and it just bada bing, bada boom, it's there. No, they put everything into it, and if you screw with it, it hurts them. That's why you see a lot of club owners and or employers or other people screaming or at least getting upset, and they're like, what, I'm minimum wage, what does matter? Doesn't, like, for me it matters everything.
Yeah.
Whether you're minimum wage or you're making $80 an hour, it doesn't matter to me. You got to be there on time, especially if it's a team effort or if there's a schedule start.
Yeah.
Like we start at 7,
Yeah.
you got here at 8.
And then there's
You know?
also the responsibility of the business owner too, I think, to create an environment where people want to work there. I think
Yes,
there's something very
that's
valuable
the other
about
side.
that.
But
And
most smart business people if they don't get bitter, which
Yeah.
happens a lot, they don't get bitter. They understand that everyone's got a different story. Everyone's got a different background, and you start to rely on the ones that are reliable, and
Yeah.
you try and scoot the ones that are unreliable to the side or out,
Yeah.
because you don't want to damage your business. You don't want to damage your dream.
Yeah, and I think too, being reliable, being organized, keeping a calendar, knowing what's on your agenda, answering your phones, all that stuff. That does not. That and being a creative person are not mutually exclusive. I'm not more creative. I won't be a funnier person just because I showed up to something 2 hours late and hungover.
not.
That doesn't make me funnier.
Of course not.
What makes you funnier is reps. And also
Right.
living your life. So, live your life, get some point of views on something, get some perspective on stuff, have some experiences out there. And if the experiences include binge drinking, like, do you.
Yeah.
But you can do all that and
I
still.
get stoned on fentanyl, and I can barely walk for 3 hours. I'm a zombie. Maybe that's your stick. I don't know.
Careful with that.
Hard to say.
Careful with that. You don't know what they're cutting stuff with these days. Take it from me, a just really tried and true fentanyl user. See, I can't even pronounce it right. That's how much I don't do fentanyl.
Well, I've got a lot of friends that have been drug users and died, so it's
Same,
a
yeah.
rough road to go. And I understand. See, let's take it the other side. Especially when you're trying to get into the business, you're starving. Starving artist is not a misnomer.
Yeah.
A lot of artists are starving. They have very little. They put themselves on the line to start a trade or begin to hone their craft. And so what happens is you're fighting all the demons in your mind saying you're not good enough or blah, blah, blah. And so sometimes it takes an immense amount of courage just to show up.
Yes.
And to show up on time is even better. So I understand on the other side, especially with creative people, there is this battle of the mind all the time. I'm not ready, or it's not good enough, or I'm going to suck, or they won't like me. Whatever that darkness in your head is going on, you just got to say, so what?
Yeah.
If they don't like me, I'm still going to be there.
Yeah.
I'm going to get better. And so if I suck now, I'll be less sucky next week.
I think you have to love it more than you're afraid of it, and you have to love it more than you're afraid of failing. So if you enjoy what you're doing on your way to success or failure, it's not time wasted.
Right.
Whether and failure is such a finite word. But I don't know if I've mentioned this. I give a lecture around the country to pre-professional performers, like dancers, mostly
Wow.
ballet dancers, but also like musical theater performers, stage performers.
So how's that go? What's that like?
It's really great, and you're speaking to exactly what I try to talk to people about, which is that especially in the ballet world, there's a lot of self-loathing because a lot of us have had teachers who are really toxic and have given us created a breeding ground for body dysmorphia and eating disorders and just generally feeling like you're not enough. It's especially tricky when you're in an art form, and I would say comedy is similar. When you're in an art form where part of your instrument is your body. So if you're a violinist and you feel bad about how you're playing the violin, you practice, feel really bad about yourself, then you put your violin in a case and you move on.
Right.
When you're a singer and the voice that you speak with every day is the thing that you don't feel good about, you can't shed it.
Right.
When you're a dancer and the body that you're walking around in all day is the thing that people have taught you how to hate, it's really hard to get out of your head because every window you walk past, every reflection you see, you're reminded of what's not good enough about you. So a lot of mental toughness is necessary, and I actually, like, when I had this huge knee injury and I had to have surgery, I ruptured my ACL.
Oh my.
I had to take time.
Was it tackle dancing?
Tackle dancing? No,
Just a rough crowd?
I was pushing off the floor for a jump, and I hit a slippery spot on the floor and literally pushed my leg in 2 different directions.
Oh man, that sounds
Quiet
painful.
on the set.
That sounds painful.
Was that Cody? Bless you, Cody. So I was like, all right, I can't work on my dancing because I can't walk. And then a little bit after that first surgery, I got into a bicycle accident. And then my teeth were broken and fallen out, and my jaw was in a bunch of pieces, and I had plates in my face. And then I couldn't talk because I could talk, but it was like this because my jaw was wired shut. And my nerves were damaged in my face. So my eyebrows, I woke up from surgery and they were just like this.
Wow.
So I couldn't even express
Like
myself.
a gangster.
Yeah, basically. I was always mad. And it was for a performer to be like, okay, I can't walk. I look like Quagmire. and like mixed with Frankenstein. And I can't express myself. I can't talk clearly. If I smile, it's embarrassing. So what can I work on? What can I, as a creative person, what can I be working on right now?
Sure.
And I took some time off, and I started working with a sports psychologist and learned all this amazing stuff, and sort of started to understand my, like, for lack of a better term, like my origin story as far as like, how do you get that negative self-talk in your head?
Yeah.
And I sort of made some connections between, like, oh, I remember as a student at this very impressionable age that this older dancer that I really looked up to said this thing that was begrudging of her own body, and I thought she was beautiful. And so then I started comparing myself to her and being like, well, if she's ugly, then what am I? So yeah, anyway, I wrote an article about that for Dance Magazine, and then I ended up kind of like turning it into like a 1-hour PowerPoint.
So you've been published.
I've been published 3 times in Dance Magazine.
My.
Yeah. I've been published in a couple of oh, thank you, Colin. Silent laughter. Yeah, and but I just wanted to be able to share that because a lot of dancers feel not empowered to talk about what they don't like about the dance world because you have to be on such good behavior to get ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking, derisively of anything about it is seen as,
Well, I've seen John Wick,
uh-huh,
the movie,
uh-huh.
and so I see how these dancers, these ballet dancers, have to start, and I'm sure every ballet dancer goes through the same regimen of bleeding while they're dancing.
People
And-
love to glamorize the bloody toes. Like, yes, my feet have bled many times, but it's not. Take it from a ballerina. If your toes are bleeding every time you're dancing on point, they're bleeding 6 days a week. You don't have the right point shoe on, and you need to wear different tape and padding.
Okay.
That's just a thing. There's something about the regular non-performer that loves to glamorize the worst parts of our job and be like, oh my God, look at how much they're suffering. Which, like, what a weird thing to glom onto, right?
Well, I use that as a humorous part, actually.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you. And as a club owner, you're going to find that you almost have to shepherd some people. And I don't want to say it that way. A lot of people are already at a maturity level, that's fine. And then you're going to find some people that have a flaw, but they're great people.
Right.
And you'll have to, love you, let's fix this,
Yeah.
or at least address this because I love you.
Yeah.
And then there's some people that they're just jelly and they need to be molded. You
Yeah.
know, and it's like, okay, these 5 things we're going to have to do something about, but this is what I do like, and let's
Yeah.
focus on this and then this.
Yeah.
And so if you're running a club well, I think, to be honest, a club is really like a dojo.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone's working, see, that's one reason why it bothers me when I see certain places where it's like, oh, it's an open mic, but we're here to sell beer, and if people do
Yeah.
great, fine. If not, get out of here, don't sign up again.
Yeah.
It's you're working on your you're punching, you're kicking, you're breaking boards, you're doing whatever you can in that style to make sure that you develop a great 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and then a great 20 minutes, and then a great hour,
Mm-hmm.
and so that wherever you go with the rest of your life, if you got a good 5 minutes or a great 5 minutes that kills every time,
Mm-hmm.
doors open
Yeah.
everywhere.
That's one thing that I want to have in. I think there's a sense of eat or be eaten mentality in comedy where like somebody else's success is going to preclude your success. And I've never believed that. I think I love to support people around me. I love for people around me to be better than me at what they do because it
Yes.
pushes me and it inspires me. And nothing bad ever happens from supporting the people around you.
No.
And nothing bad will happen to you, even if it means that, you and a comedian that you've come up with are both going for the same, quirky best friend in a TV series, and maybe they get it instead of you. So it wasn't your time right now. It doesn't mean you're not going to, succeed later. But I think whereas a lot of the open mics that I've been to when I do stand-up, everybody else at the open mic is just waiting to go up. And then they're looking at their notes, and they're not listening to my set. So I'm not even getting feedback. I don't even know what's landing or not.
Right.
And then even if something is funny, sometimes people seem mad if it's good. They're like, oh, they think they're funny, and it's such a weird thing. When I have my comedy club, I want to have an environment where, first of all, the host of the open mic stays behind and offers to give feedback, like really listens to the people's sets and offers to give feedback. I would love,
Right.
I want to encourage other people in the mics to stick around and like, hey, talk to your buddies. Like,
Right,
I want to
right.
hear what you guys thought. Like, what did you guys think of that joke? Did you think it was offensive? I thought it was, but maybe I'm being sensitive. Or like, and then another person chimes in. That's how we learn and that's how we grow. I think we can fast forward the growth process that way
Yes.
a lot more than just this sort of, you know, bleeding knuckles mentality of like, I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna push through this open mic. I don't care if everybody hates me and I don't care if I don't know. Just like, it's weird. I don't know why.
Well, I've seen, I don't know, 500 to 1,000 people on in various areas.
At
from
one
mics.
open mic? How
No.
long was that?
Trust me, it
Oh my
seemed like that
God.
sometimes. When it's going to 1:30 in the morning, you're like, it started at 8. What happened?
I know.
What are you guys thinking? 5.5 hours?
And then you've always got the worst comic running out the light by like 3 minutes. You're like, go away.
Well, that's what I'm going to say. What I found is some people just don't have it. And I don't know why they just don't have it, but they try, and that's good. And eventually someone, you know, after a while should say, love you to death. How about you try improv? Stand-up's not working. How about improv? Or something else. Because
Yeah.
obviously whatever you got isn't working. But then I've watched people that for a year, it's like nails on a chalkboard, and then all of a sudden they find something.
Right.
And it's like, okay, now they found their voice. And I've seen that like maybe 12 or 15 times where all of a sudden it's like, in my own heart, it's like I smile because
Yeah.
you see the light go on in their head of, I was trying and trying, and I got it.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
Well, I think
beautiful.
that's an argument toward not ever telling anybody, I don't think you have what it takes. I would never.
After a while,
I would never say that. I'm serious. I would never say it. I'll
I
tell
wouldn't
you
say
this.
you don't have what it takes. I would just say something like, have you tried improv?
Well, and
Or
that
something
maybe
a little
trying-
different, because what
so-
you're doing, you're so awful at.
So maybe a person is telling it, they're telling jokes on jokes on jokes. They're not hitting, they're not funny. Maybe their jokes are not funny because they meander and they never get to the point.
Right.
So then maybe, okay, if that's the problem, hey, have you thought about taking like a creative writing
You're
class?
right.
Have you
I'm
thought about
wrong,
taking a
you're
writing
right.
class?
Absolutely.
I'll
You're
tell you this.
absolutely
When I
right.
was 20 years old, I had been dancing really, really seriously. I've been dancing since I was 4, but I had been a very serious student of dance since I was about 12.
Okay.
And I went to an arts high school, and then I would dance 3 hours at school. Then I would go and dance like another 4 after school. I was just so focused and committed on this dream. And at the age of 20, I was graduating from Houston Ballet Academy, and I was
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. And I was ready to go start auditioning for companies. And mind you, my entire process through the school was really just like a series of like me not going on stage and then getting a lot of fat talks, which is where I get called into the principal's office and they're like, you gotta lose weight. You're disgusting. And so I asked my teacher, or the principal of the school, I was like, hey, I want to start auditioning. Can you think of any ballet companies that you think I'd be a good fit for? Because different ballet companies have different vibes. They might be all very tall, skinny, sort of Balanchine-esque type dancers, or they might be shorter, stockier, more athletic dancers. So I was just thinking, okay, what company would I fit in well with? And she said, honey, I can't think of a company in the country that would want you.
Wow.
And I would say within 6 months of that conversation, I was doing a principal role for a ballet company on
That's
stage.
amazing.
So even this woman who is the principal of one of the best ballet schools in the country, who said nobody's going to want you, was wrong.
Yeah. of
Screw
course,
her.
Of course.
So what makes me or you able to
Yeah.
tell somebody that is just our lack of
You know,
imagination?
I want to apologize to everyone. You're absolutely right. I shouldn't have that opinion. And to be honest, when you see someone like that, see, this is the thing I struggle with. I like people to find their own voice.
Sure.
But maybe as a friend or as a colleague or just as a human being, when you see someone crawling, you might want to just help them a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I should be doing more, because I don't know. You see, I don't want to impart to them what I think they should do either.
Right.
That's terrible. But
Right.
to watch them just flounder. Well,
It's hard
two
to
kinds.
watch.
There's the one kind that flounder, but they're trying. And then there's some people that they did a bit 2 years ago, it got laughs, and they do the same exact bit forever.
Yeah.
And it's like, please.
That's hard, but that's also
work at it a little bit. You
those
can do
comedians are also the kinds of comedians sometimes who are very successful at corporate comedy because they've
Yeah.
got a really tight set. They know exactly what works all the time. They know exactly how long it's going to take to get through the set.
Yeah.
It's like clockwork. So there is a benefit to that too. That's not the way I like to do comedy.
Right.
But I've also, I can think of a comedian off the top of my head right now who I watched do a lot of mics and everybody was like, man, they have no idea how bad they are. They just go up there like they belong up there, and they're so bad.
Right.
And I was like, you know what though? Maybe that's what's going to make them succeed, because as you know, like so much of comedy is just being confident.
Yeah.
And feeling like you're allowed to take up space on stage and feeling like you belong up there. Just walking on stage with that kind of chutzpah is sometimes what you need to get the crowd on your side. So then, all right, well, this person is actually walking in with a skill that a lot of more talented joke writers don't have.
Right.
So they're already halfway there. Now the jokes need to get way better.
Right.
But they can get better, you know. I don't know. I say never say never. I would never tell any of my dance students, oh, you don't have the right body to do this. You don't have the potential. I'll never say that, because maybe there's a job for them that doesn't even exist yet, that is exactly for who they are as a dancer, or maybe they're going to create that because they've been encouraged.
No, I agree. So thank you. That's really good. I've changed my mind.
I love that.
And it happens.
Well, I appreciate your
It
open-mindedness.
happens. So always.
Yeah.
I like truth a lot. I like freedom. So if I'm wrong, I'll say it 100%.
Same. Yeah. I always say when I'm wrong. I'm just so rarely wrong that it happens so infrequently. My husband and I have this thing that we do where if the other person's right, because I think there's so many marriages and relationships become fractured when the other person just won't let go of the fact that they're not right. And we came up with this thing a long time ago. I don't even know where it started, where we hold up an imaginary picket sign, and my husband's name is Chase. I'll just be like, all right, you're right. Chase is right. Chase is right. And then he does that for me. Emily's right. And it's so funny because it just pops the bubble of all right, you're right. I'm wrong. No worries. I'm going to celebrate your correctness. But again, I get the picket sign way more than he does.
Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever admitted to doing something wrong or being wrong when you really aren't wrong with your husband? Because husbands do this a lot, just so you're aware.
Well, I think you're painting with a broad brush. It sounds to me like you might be speaking from a place where you're afraid that your wife might have an overly emotional response to something, or that she's too fragile to hear the truth, or you know what I mean, that sort of thing.
I don't think it's any of that.
What do you think it is?
I can tell you exactly what it is.
Give me an example.
Guys like sex.
Mm-hmm.
And if you make your other half unhappy, it's harder to have sex.
So what kind of lie do you have to tell to make them happy?
You name it.
Like your butt doesn't look huge in that dress?
That's
or it does look huge in that dress, and that's your thing, and so we like that.
True. That's
yeah.
True. I think most of the time you can win the fight and lose the battle.
Yeah.
And most guys that just, and it's women do this too, but most guys in a marriage, because they want to have sex a lot in marriage, which is very reasonable. They're like, is it worth me winning this and then being in the doghouse for a week?
I mean, also though, think about where you've got your target right now. The target is having sex,
every
right?
time.
What if the target was that your wife actually wanted to have sex with you? Not will she allow you to have sex with her?
Oh, okay.
What if you move the target to, okay, how can I behave, and how can I be in this relationship to where I'm attractive emotionally and physically to my wife? I don't even want to say physically. Personally, I don't care about body types at all. My husband is very handsome, but he's always like, what if I got super fat? I'm like, I literally don't care. I just love who he is.
Right.
And he is so kind, and he's so understanding, and he's so supportive. And to me, that's sexy.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have to, and it's not fake. He doesn't have to lie about it. I can tell you too, women's barometers for knowing if a guy is just saying what they have to say to get in your pants are pretty strong. Like,
Well, see,
we know.
I think you're going farther than I was saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying a guy won't argue because he knows it's going to create this coldness that's going to last.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's trying to deceive her.
Right.
That would be a different thing.
Well, yeah. So then
it's
to
not
say,
like, hey, baby,
Right.
It's not like trying to pick up someone at a bar.
right.
It's to avoid the coldness that'll last a while.
Yeah.
That they've already experienced multiple times and don't want that to happen again. They've
Yeah.
been conditioned, they've been trained by their lady to not try to win every argument,
Yeah.
which probably is smart.
Yeah. Nobody should try to win every
But
argument.
what I'm saying is this, and you might be right. every couple's different, so this is
Yeah.
really weird, and this is way off the topic, guys. This is way off the topic.
Comedy.
But I'm going to tell you, I never think that you're trying to convince a woman to have sex. I believe most women want to have sex. Sex is pretty good.
Yeah.
Even if it's okay, it's good.
It can be.
And it can be fantastic.
Yeah.
So the opportunity of fantastic, usually it's worth the try.
Yeah.
You know, and so, I know it's probably very awkward, but
No,
it
not at
seems
all.
to me that, you know, I'm not trying to convince any woman, if I was married to someone, to have sex with me, as much as let's get away from the cold atmosphere that prevents that. Because it's sort of like this. Let's say you're really attracted to someone, but they said or did something that's unattractive, and now it's like, I'll wait a while.
Yeah.
It's not in me.
Yeah.
You know, and can I still perform? Okay, I'll perform. No guy wants that. Both men and women, they want mutual desire.
Right.
That's what makes it fun.
Exactly. So your target's in the same place as mine.
Yes.
I guess when you're saying that if you don't try to win an argument because you don't want to create that coldness,
Right.
then it sounds to me like in that moment it's not worth it to be stubbornly right for no reason if it's going to create discord.
Right.
So sex or no sex, I think that's a good way to be anyway. Is this worth a fight?
But the biological push is awful hard.
Is it?
I'm just going to tell you.
You just really want to spread that Bob seed?
Well, I have 6 kids, so.
You did it. You did it. You really did it.
I don't want to brag about myself, but no. I just say that I like your method.
Oh, thanks.
Because it seems like you two have really worked out a way to diffuse something that could grow.
Yeah.
And you don't want that in a marriage. You don't want that in a relationship or even a friendship. So that's kind of a cool thing.
I don't think either of us. I think what me and my husband both have in common is that both of us are very confident, but we're not egotistical.
Right.
So I'm confident enough that I don't have to be right this time. I don't care. I like you. And I love you. So this little detail, who cares?
Right.
I know that if I walk away from this, I still know that I'm a smart, powerful woman.
Right.
And I think my husband is the same way. So
he's a smart, powerful woman too?
He's a smart, powerful woman, and nobody's gonna hold him back. Yeah, no, he does. We don't care. And I think sometimes we look at a marriage, and I mean, who knows, maybe we're gonna get divorced tomorrow, but we have been together now
No, don't say that,
we've been
please.
together now for 20 years.
Yeah.
So when we are working on a marriage, I think people think about, okay, let me work on my interpersonal relationship with this person exclusively. Let's work on this thing. Let's build this thing. I feel like, in my opinion, a strong marriage has been made by me working on myself as much as I can and trying to bring a whole self-actualized person, self-aware person into the equation.
Oh, that's very
So
good.
I'm not trying to get my confidence from my husband. I'm not trying to get my, if I win this fight, then that means I'm right and that means I'm confident. And I was feeling so not confident before and I really needed that win.
Right.
I don't need a win about what kind of peanut butter we bought last time. I don't care.
Is it creamy or
crunchy?
Crunchy.
Yeah, who knows? But I think that's part of it, right? Like you walk in and you're like, you're out for blood. You just want to be right.
yeah, and there's certain personalities that can't get away from that. I
But
feel
then
bad
work
for them.
on that. Don't work on, just trying to throw some water on the fire so you can have sex.
Guys will do a lot for sex, let me tell you.
Oh.
But I do want to say I appreciate what you said. That's very dynamic, very good. And I think the only, the work on yourself thing, the extreme I've seen is sometimes you work on yourself to a point where you grow so far past your spouse or your friend that now, they're either feeling like an anchor or they feel like you left them.
Yeah.
And that distance gets a little weird too. But it shouldn't be that way.
It shouldn't be.
But, that's the other dynamic I see once in a while. So that's why, I have a girlfriend right now named Terry, and she's wonderful. And we always encourage each other to grow.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you do the same.
Absolutely.
And everyone should do that.
Yeah, we've
But,
definitely grown together, and we've grown in different ways. But it's cool to watch. It's cool to grow up with somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
I really enjoy it. Yeah, this isn't really the funniest thing, but it's what I believe in. It's just.
No, that's good.
You know.
So you're starting a comedy club. You're trying to find a venue. You're running through some zoning issues.
Yeah.
In your ideal vision,
Yeah.
what does it look like? Can you describe what the stage looks like? How many people would be there? When is
Yes.
it open? What would be the types of performances? Can you go through a few of those things? Because I'm
Yeah.
excited because everyone has a different vision of what a club really is.
Okay, so picture this. So you open the door and you walk in, and it's just cheese everywhere, just melted cheese covering every single surface area of the
Wow.
room. No, I'm just kidding. What I would like to do is
You'd have to open that in Wisconsin, by the way.
oh, that would be good. Mars Cheese Castle has like an open mic. No, my dream and vision for this is to make it a very timeless speakeasy style place that
Okay.
that offers an elevated comedy enjoying experience. So I think that there's a lot of value in comedy venues that are a little bit worn in and have this great, quirkiness to them. I would like for this place to look like it's been here for 100 years. Like when people ask for like the elevator pitch, it's like imagine the Green Mill but red.
Okay.
That kind of a thing. So a
That is
place,
so cool.
yeah, a place that you walk into and it's like you feel kind of like relaxed and sexy and a little bit like just like, oh, this is gonna be fun.
Would you encourage a dress code as people come in?
I wouldn't. I think that's a
Okay.
little bit elitist. I actually feel like people should be able to enjoy a nice space no matter where they came from.
I'm just thinking like a $5 discount if you come in period of time, or
I mean, we could do something
that.
like that. Maybe have like a themed day. But
Yeah.
again, you're creating a divide. Maybe a person
that's
can't
true.
afford. I don't
That's
know.
true.
I to me, what I enjoy, there's Malcolm Gladwell has this book called Blink, and he talks about how there were studies about putting people in a lower socioeconomic bracket into cleaning up their neighborhoods. Or putting them into nicer housing as opposed to trying to give them resources where they are and leaving their environment the same. When you do something as simple as, when they cleaned the subways of graffiti and garbage and, spent heroin needles in the Bronx in the 70s and 80s, that actually begot better crime numbers. Like, so the crime went down, because people didn't feel like they were just taking a ride in a garbage can where anything goes.
Right.
So when you allow, and I can say this from experience, I grew up, very poor. And then in my ballet career trajectory, I was able to spend all this time in these beautiful theaters, and I would go to these amazing parties that our benefactors would throw, and the board members and everything. And it builds confidence to be able to be in a nice place. It makes you feel like you deserve to be there. So
Sure.
I like the idea of people being able to come in and just enjoy a space that's been made to be nice for them.
Okay.
So anyway, so that's the environment. And then as far as the shows go, my schedule would be ideally in this space. Wednesdays I would have improv classes for like teens and adults.
Okay.
And then we would open up the bar and do an open mic and improv jam after that. So hopefully the people that just practiced a couple new games or learned some new things, got some new feedback, is encouraged to stay behind and put that on its feet, which
so you got an hour to class followed by some actual practice if they want.
yeah,
That's
and you're
great.
with your buddies, that just did class with you, so maybe they're a little bit more open to giving feedback, and you can enjoy each other's company, you can watch each other grow. Thursdays, I would love to have a show tunes night where $5 cover or something, got some show tune videos and songs, and maybe some old like Cher and some Lady Gaga clips and stuff like that. So a place where people can just come in and sort of reminisce about some fun stuff. I think that it also is sort of geared toward the queer community, and that's a place that there's not really like a gay bar in that area, but there are plenty of gay people. And I've spent a lot of time in gay bars in my life. A lot of my friends are gay, a lot of my friends are performers. And I've always just loved that environment. These people come out, they want to drink, but they want to just drink and sing along to like the Mary Tyler Moore theme song. They don't want to get super drunk
Right.
and like,
Right.
roofie someone's drink and then get into a bar fight.
Right.
So I want to do that on Thursdays. Fridays is going to be, I would like to produce sketch comedy shows that run for have limited runs. So maybe a month-long run, maybe we extend it for 2 months long, keep refining it in the way that Second City does.
Right.
Have those at like 8 o'clock, and then 10 o'clock have improv shows, late night improv.
Okay.
And then Saturdays have stand-up at 8, improv at 10.
I like that.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
like
and then
that.
Sundays, improv classes for kids and a family-friendly improv show in the afternoon.
Okay. So you'd stay busy.
Yeah.
You'd be utilizing the facility. Very good.
Yeah.
Now, how many people for seating are you kind of hoping for?
I'm hoping for around 100 people
Okay.
seating-wise. The space that I'm looking at that I had my heart set on is actually as a bar anyway, was rated for 300 people occupancy. I think that with the chair and table setup, obviously that number's going to go down.
Right.
But I wouldn't really want it to be above 150. I think it's good to. I would rather have a more intimate space that feels full of laughter than a bigger space that we might never be able to fill.
Right.
Because we all know what that feels like.
Yeah, the cavern.
Yeah, it's hard. It's vacuous. So
20 people and
Right.
sits 400, and you're
Right.
like,
and which is sad because
Wow.
20 people, that's a decent crowd.
it's not bad.
But it doesn't feel decent when
But
you're
with
looking at
400 seats.
90% empty seats.
Especially if they're sitting in the back row.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, I don't want them to call on me. Yeah, you're getting like no suggestions from the audience. Ugh, gosh. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
And Forest Park is really your hope.
It is my hope, but I'm also, I'm like water. I'm gonna go around what I have to go around. I'm gonna go through what I have to go through.
Okay.
And I'm certainly not interested in opening a club in an area or around people that don't want me there for whatever reason,
Right.
even if they don't want me there because of their own preconceived notions that are
Right.
false.
Right.
So my hope is, I sent an outline to the mayor of what my business plan was. I didn't send him my whole business plan because that's none of his business right now.
Right.
Sent him an outline, and then I'm really hoping to be able to get to sit down with him and tell him my vision. I think that this is the kind of conversation you need to have in person.
Yeah. Well,
So.
I do a recommendation.
Oh, thanks.
They have city councils, and just say we'd like
Yeah.
to do an improv 15 minutes before city council starts, or
Yeah.
a half hour before, so you know what an improv looks like.
Yeah.
Because you might have seen it on TV, you might not, but it's all a little different, and this is what I'm thinking. And then bring 3 or 4 people and do an improv sketch.
Yeah. Well, really quick, let me tell you what I'm doing right now, though, in the meantime. Babs Comedy Club is a completely formed business now.
Okay.
I'm working, I have been booking private parties, corporate events to provide entertainment for them.
Good.
And that's been going really well so far. People have really been enjoying it. We recently did a birthday party for a guy who was turning 45, but it was for his whole family. So it was like ages like 4 to 75.
Okay.
So, trying to find a way to keep these people interested and for everybody to be involved and enjoy themselves, where the kids don't feel like they're at a parent's party, but where the parents don't feel like they're at Chuck E. Cheese.
Right.
I think we've been bridging that gap very nicely. And we had a great, great time. So we're doing that. I'm also producing the Improv Heist at the Comedy Vault in Batavia. So that
Okay.
is a family-friendly, all-ages improv show happening every Sunday at 2 p.m. You can come right after church. And
2 p.m. Sundays, guys.
yeah, Comedy Vault in Batavia. It's a great place. I think some people might look at the outside and be like, oh, that's a comedy club for like anything goes kind of comedy. They've got a lot of stand-ups there. Obviously, it's mostly a stand-up place. It is it's a very family-friendly environment.
Okay.
When we do our show, we keep it very PG, and we, read the room. We perform to whatever crowd we've got.
Sure.
So we're really happy to be doing that show again Sundays at 2.
Okay.
And then something I'm very excited about is a show I've been producing for about a year called It's That Time of the Month. That is a femme-leaning variety comedy show. That's going to be happening Friday, September 23rd at 9 p.m. at the Newport Theater in Wrigleyville. We have amazing female stand-ups. We've got great sketch comedy. I do some video sketch comedy that I project up onto the thing, so it's very produced. And I'm even going to be dancing on point in this one.
That's September when?
23rd. And just go to babscomedyclub.com, BABS.
Okay.
To look at all of our offerings. If you're looking for some entertainment for your next event,
Yeah.
we're there to do it. And it's been
Well, I
really
know
fun
we
so
had
far.
you scheduled for a place down in Calumet that unfortunately they kept canceling and canceling and canceling.
Yeah,
So I still need to rectify that. And the good thing is I was going to have you up at the Waukegan Yacht Club, and they just moved everything out, so we have space for it now.
Oh, great.
So maybe we can schedule something
That would be
very, very
awesome.
soon on that as well.
That
if
would
you're
be
okay
great.
with that.
Yeah, I would love to. I'm anytime there's a cancellation, I'm always like half like, oh, that's too bad, and then I'm also half like, all right, I get a break because I'm looking at your whole setup. You've got 3 people in this room to support you, and which is amazing. If you go to my website, I designed it. If you look at if you look at the Babs Comedy LLC on Instagram, I run that page and I do all the marketing for it. If you go to any of our private events, I have pitched that event to the person. I've booked it with them. I'm the booker. I have cast it. I'm usually performing in it. So I'm never mad at a break. But I'm really hoping to keep on building this company so that I can create a platform to make some good paid work in a supportive environment for my very, very talented friends.
Yeah. Well, we always try and push forward. We really do. And, you know, I got to tell you, I really appreciate you as a person, first of all. It's good to see people who work hard and develop good skills and love to share those.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. And then number two, I've seen you work with other people, and I'm very glad the way you treat them. It's a very good thing.
I do my best. I do my best.
So the last thing, I guess, is there anything else you'd like to promote? Because
if you're a fan of burping, you can follow me on OnlyFans at onlyfans.com/burpingballerina.
is that a real thing?
That is a real thing. I have a small passive income that is related to this whole group of all men who are really into a woman burping. And so I wrote this pilot called Lip Service that is, I'm very excited about this pilot. I wrote it a couple years ago. It's something that, it's on the back burner for now. I hope to produce it one day by myself. But it required me to do some research about the sex work industry, and I have always been fascinated by fetishes, but I am not, that I know of, I don't have any fetishes. I'm very boring. And so, but I think they're fascinating, and I wanted to learn more about them, and I was like, well, let me just like start this thing and just ask guys questions about what they like. Ask follow-up questions, like, okay, so you want to see this, why is that? I had a guy ask to see a video of my feet, but so I gave him a video of my feet, and I had painted toenails, which I thought was like a nice touch, but he was like, can you send me another video though with bare toenails? And I was like, I would like to know more about that. Why?
Wow.
So no, it's like a judgment-free zone. It is a service I provide to people that I think might feel a little bit embarrassed to ask, you know, maybe their girlfriends or their prospective first dates, hey, are you into this?
And that's from MySpace, right?
It's from MySpace?
Yeah.
No.
What is that?
It's OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Sorry.
So yeah, I don't do any nudity. I don't do anything sexual. I literally just like, if a guy wants to see me burping, I will burp. Yep.
That's cool. Wow.
No,
That's
there's
amazing.
you'd be surprised. There's people all over the world that subscribe to my page.
How many subscribe?
I have a
Just as
core
a
group
guess.
right now, about 45 people that
Okay.
subscribe monthly. And my husband subscribes for quality control.
Okay.
He wants to be able to see and make sure that like what I'm doing is sexy to
Okay.
people or like alluring to people. Like I said, I'm not performatively sexy, but if that's what you're into, I try to approach it more like the girlfriend experience. So just like
Wow.
friendly and like, hey, you know, like what's going on, buddy? And then
This is amazing. I almost got to see it once just to get it out of my. I don't know.
I'll
It's
send you a
like,
free
wow.
burping video on the house, gratis. I've tried to, everything I have from the time I've been on the internet at all, I've tried to only put things on the internet that could stand the test of time that I would not be embarrassed about. And so far, I think I can still say that, and I can't imagine any situation where I would be embarrassed because, again, I'm providing a service to people that have a need.
Well, I'm so glad you shared that because I never heard that before.
Yeah.
This is wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, full of
So,
surprises.
Thank you very much, Emily.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
This
it's
is a great
true
setup.
joy.
This is such a lovely studio.
Well, it's a good start.
Yeah.
start.
You got your pool over there and your jungle gym, which is like inside. That's so crazy that you have
Yeah.
one inside.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
So.
And then how many Pomeranians is that? Is that 17 that I counted over there?
Yeah, 17 is about right.
You guys, I'm just kidding. I'm looking at a
about
couch. It's a nice couch, though.
We like it.
Yeah.
I sit on it a lot. So.
All right.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
So, you've seen Sugar Beats. You should subscribe. If you're lasting this long, which obviously she is very interesting, so obviously you're here to the very end.
If you're still awake.
Please subscribe. Please hit the notification. Sign up and go to her fans frame.
Oh, I mean, I'm
OnlyFans.
not really here to plug my
Fan?
OnlyFans. If you want to follow my
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans, it's onlyfans.com/burping
Burping ballerina
ballerina.
at OnlyFans.
Yeah.
I think it's phenomenal. I would
Thank
love
you.
to see you get a bump in that.
Oh, I would love
That
that,
would be
too.
hilarious.
I would love that too. It'd be great. I put very, very little energy into promoting it, and it just kind of keeps on existing on its
Okay.
own. So,
And you're doing that show in September.
Friday, September 23rd at the Newport Theater,
Okay.
9 p.m. It's after Bye Bye Liver, a really fun sketch show that they have a residency there. Again, you're going to see some of the best stand-ups here. I've had Colin's girlfriend Katie on the show before. She killed it. And yeah, it's a great time. Really, really fun. And again, I mean, if you're interested, I will be dancing on point in this show.
Well, I'll
even though I'm
definitely try and get
38.
a couple tickets then. That sounds great.
It's a great show if you haven't seen it yet.
Thank you.
I really wanted to see it in the spring, but I
Well,
kept
come
pushing
see
it off
it.
because I knew it was a monthly thing.
You got to
and
see
then-
it. I'll send you a link to the ticket price.
For
I'm
some
trying to
reason-
sell out this show. I want to sell out this show.
All right.
It's 70
Send me-
seats. I think we can do it. We're
Send
already
me a
selling
link.
tickets.
I'll definitely buy 2 or
Okay.
4. I'll bring a couple
Okay.
friends.
Bring your friends.
That'd
It'll
be
be
so
good.
much fun.
All right.